So glad you're here today. Today we're going to be talking about document setup and workspaces and just everything you need to know to get into your document and create the piece of content that you want with the best workflow and a workflow that's specific to you, because that's going to be the best one. If you hear any loud bumps or bruises or bangs or low rumbles, we're having some work done outside here and a new roof and put on and new paint on the building. And so just ignore some of those ambient sounds and we'll stay focused here on the content. So I'm going to create a new document using this create new button. It's going to bring up this new document window. And across the top right here, we've got our different items to take note of. We've got a recent tab for any layouts we've recently made. We've got a save tab for any saved presets we want to make. And to do that, you can just click on this little save document preset over here and name it. Maybe we're going to make some content for screens. And we're gonna put that in pixels because we know that 1920 by 1080, 1920 by 1080 is the standard for displaying media right now. And we've got a lot of options down here. But what's really important to consider is what the end goal is for your document. So if you have a print piece, we're gonna wanna stay in that CMYK color range, as you can see. And what I like to do when if I know the end result of the document I'm creating, I'm actually going to navigate to these tabs on the top, print or web, to create that document. So if it's print and I know it's going to be like a pamphlet or a brochure, someone's going to hold in their hands, I'm going to go to that print tab and set up my layout accordingly. And if I know that it's going to be a digital piece of media and it's going to be displayed on someone's phone or on a screen or something like that, I'll go into web and set it up that way, because what that'll do when I actually create the document is it will change our color space into the RGB color space, which is the standard for any web or any digital media. So as you can kind of see here, Adobe's provided some amazing templates. If creativity is just at a low or something like that in your life, you can actually use the templates to create something that's already, or drag content into something that's already been creative, and you can manipulate it after to be something that represents you or your brand or the event you're promoting or things like that. So use those if you feel like it. And they've got ones for print and ones for web, and I believe some for mobile too. So if you're using any like phone content or designing mock-ups for things, that can be helpful. But let's get into a document here. I'm going to just use our letter, which is 8.5 by 11. And I'm going to put it in inches. So this is your typical printer paper. You can set the orientation for how you're going to print it. You can increase your page numbers. So I want 4 page numbers. It will automatically show you that, and this is all possible through the preview button. So if yours isn't selected and you're not seeing the same thing on your screen, just press that preview button and it'll actually do a preview and render it behind your new document window while you're setting it up. So right here we've got our facing pages checkbox checked, and what that's doing is it's actually showing that we can create a document with facing pages. So spreads is what they're called, would be facing pages. And what you can, if you know you're going to create an item that's going to end up as a brochure or something like that, facing pages would be something you'd probably want to use so that you can see how the spreads will look when it's open and laying on a table. Or so use that accordingly. If you're creating some digital content or creating something that the content's not going to be directly touching, like in a brochure, pamphlet, or book, I would probably uncheck that. You can set the start number for some of that. I don't find it super important for some of the content that we make, but you can always change that at any time, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. We're going to talk about primary text frame in a total other video on text and how to use primary text frame as a guideline for when you're setting up your documents and dropping and dragging in content. So stay tuned for that one. We're going to move past columns for right now because we don't use those too much. Your margin on your page is actually this pink and purple lines, and you can actually increase that accordingly. You can make all the settings the same, and it will increase it from the edges at the same frequency or same inches. So I can increase my margins if I want to on a document. And right now it's not popping up, but maybe it will. Sometimes in preview it is a little sluggish as to pop up what's going on here. But margins are actually setting the safe space area for your text, for your images. You can change that anytime, and we'll get into that in the document setup menu later as well. So the bleed is important too, because you can, if you're sending an item to print, you're going to want to bleed on your document, because a lot of printers, if you have some content or some pictures that are all the way out to the edge, they'd like you to overprint it, because they're going to print out to this bleed line, and then they're going to slice down that page so that the image goes all the way to the edge of your document. So what's really important to check for when you're setting up your bleed is to check with your printer and see what's required and what's necessary for their setup. So it's always nice. Sometimes we create a document and we don't know what printer we're going to, and we can deal with that later. It's just a little bit extra more work. But if you know that ahead of time what printer you're going to, you can set up your document appropriately. Very common is the 1/8 inch bleed, which is 0.125, but a lot of printers too have a 0.1 inch. So really just check with your printer and see how they have that set up. So I'm going to go ahead and create this document, and it's already been created in the background here, and we've got our pages and everything like that. But so knowing what we know about the end result of our document, if we want to use color, and we want to match our color to the end result, CMYK being for print and RGB being for web or digital, we can actually just change that right here and see our different color readouts. In your actual swatches or color tab up here, it'll tell you if you've got an RGB color or if you have a CMYK color, and you'll see it right here, because there'll either be the CMYK square or there'll be an RGB square. And so just keep that in mind when you're creating content and setting up your document. And then once you go to actually export your document, you can convert some of those at the end. But just keep that in mind, that you're using the appropriate colors that will match the end result. So now onto workspaces. Right here, you can kind of see the workspace I have open. If you go up to this menu right here, I've got one that's custom to my name, or my Instagram handle, but you can see a bunch of these workspaces and see how they have them set up. So mine was spread out and everything was expanded. Some of these other ones you can click in and they'll have tabs that open up like this, and they're a little bit more condensed, and sometimes that can be good. I set up my workspace because I'm on a 27-inch iMac, and I have the screen real estate to have both a big view of my document, but also to keep some of these menus open for easy accessibility to features and to make or manipulate things in a way I would like. So depending on your setup and what you have, you might want to click into these and just see what some of the options. If you go to Essentials, or Essentials Classic, that could be a condensed option I would have open on my laptop or something like that. And so I really create workspaces for the screen I'm on. So with these, we've got a bunch of panels here, and all your panels are accessible in your window tab. So if you ever lose a panel or you're not sure what's happened to it, go to your panel tab, or your window tab, and you can see which panels are open by the check mark on the left-hand side there. That will tell you. And so I've just got the ones open that I commonly use. And you can, within any other workspace, so say we were in advanced and it's got a lot of them in there still, but say if we want different panels and we want to drag them in there, we can, and we can create a custom sidebar that way. But say you get to your document and your panels are everywhere and you're just in disarray, and you're saying, how am I going to deal with this? Because I'd have to go create my workspace again. I don't even remember what my workspace looks like. There's an easy fix for this. If you go up to your workspace menu here, you can navigate down to reset your workspace. Mine's called Seakeeds, so I would reset Seakeeds, and it will reset back to the saved setting. If you want to create a new workspace and you like the workspace that you have, you can always go down here to new workspace, type in, maybe I'm going to make one for my laptop, and I'm going to go Zkeeds laptop, and it will save our panel locations and menu customizations that we've made in our panels. So you can save it there, or you can go to Window into Workspace and save it this way. So those are kind of the same menu. But it's really important when you're setting up your document because you want your workflow to be fast and you want everything to be at your fingertips so you don't feel limited. So setting up your workspace is one of the most important things you can do.